This is JJ Humphrey. I'm on Elephant in the Room. Hey, my good friend Bobby just got sick. He just called us, and we're going to go ahead with the program. So it was going to be me and him discussing all the stuff that we brought out on the year 2025. But since he can't be here, I'm just going to run those down myself for you. Before we get started, I always like to start with one of my pet peeves. Well, today, one of my big pet peeves is when the Democrats, and guys, you know, usually I don't just pick on one party. I pick on the Republicans probably more than I do the Democrats. But man, the Democrats sometimes just blow my mind, amaze me. You know, we go down there and get Maduro. Hey, that's a big thing. If you think that's just about drugs, guys, they're killing hundreds of thousands of people with the drugs that they're bringing over the border, the fentanyl that China is bringing over and giving at a very low price, if not for free, bringing that over and killing hundreds of thousands, more than any military operation ever here in the United States. Guys, most of the ones that are dying in the drug use and that fentanyl and all the drugs that they're trying to bring over and destroy our country, guess what, are between the ages of 19 and 49. If you go look, that's the primary age of employment and primary age of military. So they're taking out our primary age people with drugs. If you went and studied China, go back and look at the history of China, and guess what? You're going to find out that China almost got wiped out by opiate. And so now that's exactly, if you wonder what fentanyl is, that's what fentanyl is opiate. And China has really declared war. I mean, nobody wants to say this, but China has openly declared war on America by funneling this fentanyl through these South American countries, including Mexico, and bringing it up here to our country, bringing it here to the United States, having people die. Now, here's what's funny to me, and here's where I get on the Democrats, is if I'm not mistaken, Joe Biden put like a $35 million, talked trash on Trump, said Trump was a Maduro lover, and that he put a $35 million bounty, if I remember, out on Maduro. And now Trump comes in and actually has the guts to go in there and actually go get this guy without any kind of people dying, without losing any kind of equipment. Man, it was a super great operation, and he's went in and got this guy. Now, the guy definitely was not elected. He falsified. He shouldn't even be the president there. And so, again, a false dictator. And then if you want to look at what is this war really about, is it only about drugs? And if you think so, you're sadly mistaken, because guess what? This thing is way more. It's economics, it's oil, it's drugs, it's cartel, it's cash, and it's who's controlling the world. It's a global control on the world is what this is all about. It's not just about one small dictator in one small country floating out some drugs. And also, I think that we're going to find out a lot of money was being funneled through there to our own politicians, as well as if you want to look at the election fraud, guess what? You want to look at Dominion. I think you can trace it right back to Venezuela, where all of the computers and everything was at. So this thing, I think, is going to be way bigger. And now you got Democrats squealing like a pig under a gate and hollering about, can they get any more sickening? Now, you know, you're going to stand up for a drug dealing cartel thug, and you're going to try to stand up for him. Why don't you try to stand up for America? It's time that we quit. You know, guys, if you're a Democrat, I want to encourage you. There are great Democrats out there. They're the old blue dogs, old school Democrats. Man, take back your party and kick these woke thugs to the street. Kick these woke individuals who want to support drug dealers, who want to support thugs, who want to support wokeism, who want to support overrunning our country with illegals. It's time to kick that stuff to the street. Take back your party and become the party that you used to be, somebody you can be proud of, and get your party back away from these people. So that's my rant for today. We're just going to jump right back into what's going on in 2025. Guys, there's so much I can tell you. We're not going to have time. We've got an hour. It's just, I don't have enough time to really get into everything that I've worked on in 2025 that me and Bob exposed, but I'm going to get into some of the most important things. So we're going to just start off right there with the Payne County Grand Jury. What brought about that Payne County Grand Jury? That's the thing that really needs to be talked about, that we haven't really done a great job in telling the public. So what started all that is that we had reports of kids being waterboarded at a mental health institution in Greer Mental Health Institution there in Enid, Garfield County. Okay. Now, about that same time, we also had a juvenile detention center that had reported, and I know the people who went and reported this to DHS. I was involved in all this. And so they went and reported that kids were being molested by the employees of that detention center. The DHS, OCCY, and OJA ignored all of the things. There's documents, I believe, prove this. I don't just believe, I know. But here's the deal. They ignored it, said they didn't want police in there. They wanted to cover it up. And so what happened, the feds come in and raided that. And guess what? They proved what we were saying. They proved that the kids were being molested by the employees. Now, guys, not only have we turned in the Tulsa, but we've turned in a couple of other ones that still haven't never been looked at. They've never even checked them out. I know that because I've made it to where they'd have to come to me to get the information. They've never come to me, even though I've went to them, provided them with information. They've never come back to investigate. And so, again, you have these facilities that the employees are raping or having sex with the juvenile detention occupants, residents right there. And guess what? Nobody's doing anything. So we got together with a group called Appleseed. They're kind of a more Democrat-leaning group, but they do a lot of great work. And guess what, guys? When it comes to working on cases of child abuse and torture and sexual abuse, I work with anybody. If you want to come and be a part of that, I don't care what group you're with. I don't care what political. I think we all should be able to agree. Surely we can all agree that raping kids are bad. Waterboarding mental health kids are bad. Employees having sex with kids in detention center is bad. Shouldn't matter what party you're on. We all should be able to agree with that. And I will happily work with anybody. I got railed on because I worked with the NAACP. Well, guess what? I'm happy to work with them on those issues. On issues we can agree with, very proud to work with anybody who wants to stand up. Kudos to them. They stood up when, guess what? Most of our Republican Party didn't come in and even try to help. In fact, I'm fighting our Republican leadership on these issues. And so we got with Appleseed. They wrote a very comprehensive report, about 350 pages, sent it to the AG, sent it to the speaker, sent it to the pro tem, sent it to the governor, sent it to all of these agencies that were involved. And guess what they did? They did absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. So we had a hearing that involved these cases, one from Wagner County, one from Tulsa, one from Payne County, one from Greer County. I think we had, I'm not sure what other counties we had in there. But anyways, we involved all of these, started to have a hearing. Our leadership come and said, hey, don't have this hearing. You don't need to have this hearing. Let's put this off. I've got some chain emails that show, no, I'm going to have this hearing. I'm not turning my head on kids being molested. Y'all can do that if you want. I'm not going to do it. Anyways, long story short, finally got approved to have the hearing. We had the hearing. It was 2 hours long. We put more evidence than you would ever believe. So the law, the rules on ordering an OSBI investigation, and if you wanted to look at that time on the cover of the website for the OSBI, it said that one of the ways to get an investigation initiated was for the chairman of a committee with the majority of that committee could order an investigation. Well, I was chairman. Majority of our committee requested and signed on with me Here's what's funny. In that hearing, we had other people in there. We had about 10 other legislators, senators, and representatives sign on with our committee and me requesting a hearing. Not really requesting, we ordered a hearing. And our leadership comes back and says, we don't think you have the authority. Well, there it was right there. We went and talked to lawyers. Lawyers said we had the authority. And they come back and said we had no authority to order an investigation. Now, that's quite funny to me. But here's the other part. If I don't have the authority, then why aren't you ordering an investigation? Why aren't you calling somebody? Why would the AG, why would our speaker and our House leadership, why would the Senate leadership, why would the governor not order investigations on these matters? Don't you think that if you got people coming to report and got pictures of kids being stomped, mental health children being stomped, pictures, reports of waterboarding, torturing kids, you got reports of that, hey, we told you these kids were being molested, and now we know the kids were molested. Don't y'all think that that would warrant an investigation? If these agencies knew that kids were being molested and they did nothing to stop it, knew that kids were being tortured, did nothing to stop it, do you not think that that's worthy of investigating? Do you not think they should at least lose their job? I don't know. Maybe they should even be charged with. So, guys, that's what started these grand juries. So we started grand juries all around because that was the whole part of us having those hearings. And we picked those cases so that we could have grand juries across the state. Okay. Now, we started one in Oklahoma County. Why? Because Oklahoma County was the county in which DHS sits in. And Oklahoma County is where all these officials sit in. So that's why we were able to do Oklahoma County. Now, guess what? They never had a hearing. They've never closed out that grand jury. They come and said we did not get the appropriate numbers, but we never had a hearing. We never had anything. So guess what? We also provided enough evidence under a act called the Kelsey Briggs Act. And this is where a little girl was tortured, beaten, abused. Courts did nothing. And she was in front of the courts, Finally ended up, her father killed her, put her in the ice chest. I think it was her father. Killed her, put her in her ice chest and a freezer. They later found the girl and they come up with the Kelsey Briggs Act. Some of this says that basically law enforcement always has to be contacted. We have cases where they weren't. Second, it says the courts can't sit around on their sorry asses while kids are being abused and do nothing at all, waiting to say, well, let's have a hearing, let's have a hearing, let's have a hearing. So we introduced all of this evidence that kids were being abused so that the court would have to, we really didn't care about a grand jury because the way we look at it, if you follow the law, you're going to have to order an investigation. That's what we wanted, just order an investigation. Well, guess what? They wouldn't take the evidence, but I sent it to them on certified. They have it. They know they've got it. And guess what? They never ordered a hearing. They never did anything. So what we did, I ran over and filed what they call, if I'm pronouncing this right, an amicus brief, and that is just a friend of the court brief, to basically say, yo, justices, Supreme Court justices, this guy over here in Oklahoma County Court is not doing his job. Here's Kelsey Briggs. Here's the fact that he won't even listen to the case. He never presented it. So we wrote all that. Guess what the Supreme Court did? That's right. They did nothing at all. They did absolutely nothing. And that was pretty much predictable. I told people that I figured they'd kick it out based on some important law, like I wore the wrong color hat or I'm too short to present the case, some really technical law stuff, you know. They were never going to take it. We knew that. And we were just going through the motions because we were setting this thing up and we're still setting it up. They don't know. Okay. Then you turn around. We had all these like Tulsa where the DA went out and publicly killing this thing. It's against the law. He's not, he was on it. He was on the grand jury petition and he's going over and threatening people. It's against the law and nobody filed a charge on him because guess what? He's the guy who has to file a charge. This is kind of act. If you went to Wagner County, same thing happened. That DA's in there arguing how to kill this. When he's on it, you can't do that. Anybody with any kind of moral code would know you can't argue your own case you know, if you're the DA, you can't present, you have to recuse. The judge should have known that. What judge would let you go do that? You know, I mean, you talk about corruption. I mean, here's the deal, and this is it, guys. This is what this is all about. We're putting them out on Front Street where they have to obviously, blatantly violate the law. They're not going to investigate themselves. They're not going to allow it to happen because guess what? Now they're blatantly having to violate their own laws. And it's so obvious and evident. It's sickening that they're doing these things, but we're just going to keep putting them out there, and they're going to keep doing it. So guys, what we did, we got down, we filed, we thought our best case was going to be Payne County. We were right. Payne County is just ripe. It is ripe. And so we started this grand jury. The judge there refused to hear a case on a kid that was abused. The dad come up for 3 weeks saying, you got to hear this case. By law, you have to hear this case. And they have violated, they all got together and got this guy arrested and put a $1 million bounty on him, $1 million bond. Guys, Jack the Ripper don't get $1 million bond. They put this guy who's down there trying to protect his kid, down there every day for 3 weeks saying, I got the kid, took the kid to the police, took the kid to a shelter, and they filed charges. This guy's having to go get a $75,000 lawyer to fight charges that are so damn bogus, it's unreal. They guess what? These people need to go to jail. These people that I'm talking about who are weaponizing the criminal justice to cover their own sorry butts need to go to jail. They need not to have these positions. So here's what happened. We have this Butler rape case. Now, guys, Butler is a big, big case. There's no question. But I can name you 4 or 5 cases that are equally as bad as Butler right there, that are rape cases, that are child molestation cases, that are the DA, the ADA getting caught with 150 videos of child pornography that never has been taken to court yet. So again, guys, we can go on all day with these types of crimes that are being covered up right there in Payne County. But here's the deal. You got a dad trying to protect his child, and he gets arrested, $1 million bond. Now, the judge there kicks this grand jury out because he says, now I got to back up. Some of the big politicians file into this. Guys, let me show you what this is like. When the judge orders, when he approves a grand jury, then all he approved is that we can go out and we can get the signatures. That we have the right, this is the people's right, to go out and get signatures to say, we want to look at these cases, okay? Now, he had approved that. A politician can't file in and say, hey, we want to quash, we want to do away with the grand jury because we don't like our name in there. I don't like my name. Now, guys, if you got filed on for murder, could you file with the court saying, I want that murder charge quashed because I don't like my name being mentioned with murder? Now, we'd never have a court if you could do that, we'd never have a court. So would me or you be able to file something like that? Why, no, heck no. But if you are if you're in the top leadership of Oklahoma, I guess if you're in the who's who of Oklahoma, I guess you can, because I guess you do, because they've done it about 4 times now. And so, guys, it is illegal. You cannot, the judge and these people, politicians, cannot get, if you look at U.S. law, and I think it's under Oklahoma law too, judges and politicians cannot get together and conspire, collaborate to kill a grand jury. It's illegal, and that's what's going on. And don't take my word for it. Just go pull up. It's got quash, motion to quash, motion to quash. I mean, they filed 4 or 5 of them. It's not me saying it. They've done it. It's illegal. So the judge comes up and says, well, y'all didn't get the certified signatures to have the grand jury. You didn't get enough. Now, guys, there's a big argument over a bill that got passed. It doesn't affect this. Really, the number we need is 1,600. They're trying to argue we need 3,500 because they're trying to double it. And again, I don't know how many we got because we never got a certified number. So we tell the judge, Judge, how did you certify that number? Because it has to be board certified, and the board never met. So how are you going to get a counted vote when the board who's counting it never met? Pretty good question. And he said, now I kid you not, he said, not my problem. So here's a guy that's supposed to be over this legally, and he's saying, don't care, not my problem. So I get out and I go write the chairman of the Board of Elections who's supposed to be counting this. And I say, basically, did you meet? Did you review? Did you certify the number? Guys, I've got it in writing. Never met, never reviewed, never certified. You know what that means? That means they were never counted. You can't count that. They weren't counted. How did you come up with how many you had? It was never counted. So I filed an appeal to the Supreme Court. Now you got to remember, the Supreme Court justice is named in this petition. He can't hear nothing on it. But guess what? He writes back and says, I'm going to kill this thing by December 8th because you guys are a 5013C. Now, guys, that was some of these politicians tried to say we were a 5013C because we were named close to another organization. We went to that organization, said, give us a letter, certified letter saying we're not you and you're not us. They did that. We won that in court. Now, this Supreme Court justice is not supposed to talk to anybody. He ain't supposed to be having people in his ear. Now, all he's supposed to do is look at that case. Guys, if he had looked at the case, he would saw that we were not a 5013C. So what does that tell you? That tells you these politicians, lawyers, are in that judge's ear, in that Supreme Court justice. That tells you they're having inappropriate conversations, communications, ex parte. They are not supposed to do that. That is corrupt, and that's what they're doing. It's pretty obvious. I wrote him and told him that was obvious. And I also wrote him and said, how are you going to terminate something that you're the subject of? You shouldn't even be on this. Well, I get a response from a different judge. So obviously, you'll never have them admit. Guys, they're never going to put in writing they were wrong. Guess what? What they did was give us another judge and say, we're going to take this under advisement. It's been under advisement for six better weeks now. Guess what, guys? How hard is it to take under advisement? They never counted the vote. They never met. They never reviewed. They never counted. Guess what? It's no good. Third grader could tell you that. Here's these guys with a law degree. Guess what? They don't want to say it because guess what? They know that they're going to have to come back and redo. And the thing about it is, you think those signatures have been kept secure? I doubt it. Okay, so can we go back and count them? No. So either they got to approve it, which they could, or they got to let us have another one. So we just speed it up and we just go get another one. And it's not the same thing. We change it up a little bit. We got different people on it. We got 16 prominent citizens signed on this thing. I signed on with them. And again, we put it in. Well, guess what? Here comes the motions to quash again. Here comes all of this. Then that judge who's already kind of admitted by giving it to another judge, that judge decides, well, I'm going to give it to my good friend over here. Guess what? That judge cannot decide who he gives it to. He's subject to it. He can't be picking and choosing who gets to hear it. That's wrong. That's morally corrupt. It's corrupt as hell. That's what these judges are. Now, he's got his hand-picked person, and I say that, the fixer, I like to call her the fixer, Judge May, M-I-A, I think. That's not missing in action. M-I-A, Judge May, the fixer, because I say that because she seems to be getting all the cases that need to be fixed, and she seems to be doing a pretty good job at fixing. She's about 2 out of 3 right now, and the other one's still out. So here's the deal. Again, she comes back and says, well, y'all don't meet sufficient. It's not sufficient. And she says, hey, you've got to fix this, fix this. We fix it. We fix it. Give it back to her inside the time requirement. She comes back and says, nope, it's insufficient. Now, guys, what she's basically saying, the way I read that, I'd encourage everybody to go read it. What she's basically saying is that that the judges and these politicians couldn't commit crime and therefore you can't get rid of them, when absolutely they could commit crime. Look at all over the United States, these judges. There's one in Ohio that just got caught with tampering evidence, and she's being prosecuted. There's one, I can't remember what state, that snuck the alien out, the illegal alien out the back door. She's being charged. What about the guy in Washington? They're talking about charging him. Okay, judges can commit crime, and they can be charged. And when judges obviously fraudulently arrest people, it's a crime. When they obstruct justice, it's a crime. And that's what we listed in there: fraud and obstructing justice. And it's a crime. And she said, no, that there's nothing y'all done here that would resonate to the place where these people could be charged or anything done with them. That is a stinking sorry lie. And so again, guys, here's where we're at. So on this, because I don't want to get too far out in the weeds, we got other stuff we want to talk about. But guys, on this, here's what's funny. They're being put out on Front Street. This Butler rape case has made them national attention. They're on Front Street right now. And guys, our own media, here's what blowing my mind. The Oklahoma media is failing massively. This is one of the biggest things going on in Oklahoma. You want to talk about judicial corruption going on across your state. Guys, we have got to clean up our court system. If we're going to clean up the Capitol, you got to start with the court system. You have to have an appropriate court system. And our court system is corrupt. It is corrupted to the core. Now, there are some good ones out there. I can name you some really good judges. Judges I have a lot of confidence in and faith. There's some down in Bryan County. There's some in Atoka County. There's some in, Cleveland County. Hey, I can go around the state and start naming some really good judges. McCurtain County's got a really good judge I like. I can go county to county and talk about Bush and especially people I know in southeastern Oklahoma, judges and things. So, guys, I'm not after every judge. I'm not after every person in the criminal justice system. What I'm after are those who are corrupt. What I'm after is to ask, have we enough to warrant an investigation? And I've been in the business more than 35 years, and I can tell you, we have massive amounts, more than enough to warrant a grand jury. How dare one individual who was, I think, illegally named, and again, how dare that person say we don't have sufficient evidence? The people of the state of Oklahoma, the people of Payne County don't have enough evidence when all of these rape cases, when all of these things have happened with these judges that have acted inappropriately, misconduct, and she's going to say there's not enough to warrant and here's what's funny. It was already pre-approved. It had already been approved. So how is this judge? One judge says, yes, it meets sufficient. Now this judge comes and says insufficient. Guys, we're going to appeal this. We're going to put them out on Front Street, and they just keep, you ever watch the person mop themselves into a corner? These grotesquely, gross, negligent, illegal, corrupt judges keep painting themselves into a corner. Guys, we're just going to keep mopping, and we're going to trap them in that corner. They're going to trap themselves. They're baiting and stepping in their own trap, and they're just so blatant about it, and they think nobody else is smart enough. Their ego is going to override, and we're going to win the day. I hope. We're just going to keep moving forward. We're going to keep fighting. Guys, when you're fighting a corrupt judicial system all the way to the top, guess what? It's hard to fight, but we're going to keep fighting it. Guys, we're looking at rape cases. We're looking at false arrest. On that false arrest, guys, I believe I will be coming out here not too long in the distant future. So if you're looking at what 2026 holds, we're going to keep pushing these grand juries. We're going to keep pushing the fact how they denied the one was killed illegally without certifying the votes. That one is a head scratcher. What would take so long? Why kids be abused? Kelsey Brigg kicks in. Why kids are being abused? They're sitting up there on their sorry hindies and doing absolutely nothing. So, guys, we're going to keep pushing that. But I believe that I will be filing a case, and I believe I'm going to be able to pull the evidence that shows lawyers, politicians, judges, all conspired, met together to falsely arrest a person and put $1 million bond on them. and to allow a kid to continue to be abused. Now, that's what I believe. I think we're going to be filing that charge, trying to write that up and get it in front of either the AG, who is named in this thing also. If he had any moral turpitude, he would kick himself out and put this over to the FBI or somebody like that, because all the names mentioned. So that's what you can look out of in this case. So when we're talking about all these grand juries, it's not simply Payne County. This is stuff that we've set up all over the state. This thing was planned. How we've set it up has been planned. They've fallen into everything that we have set. And again, I would have thought they would have been smart enough to not do it so blatantly, but they're not. They're so egotistical that they're going to keep doing it. They're going to keep filing. These politicians that file into that, do you not know when you file a motion to quash, that's evidence that you're trying to kill a grand jury in which you have zero standing? The fact that this corrupt judge let you into it doesn't make it right. You had zero standing. And guys, that's evidence that you're trying to kill a grand jury. Your name is more important than kids being molested, kids being tortured, kids being, raped. And so, guys, that's where I'm at with that. We'll continue to move on. Next thing that I want to talk about, something I've worked on for many years, but I worked on it this year. I'm always working on this. The state DAs, the district attorneys, are doing district attorney supervision. Guys, this is so corrupt in so many, many different forms. First thing, if I'm going to file charges, if I'm a DA and I'm going to file charges on you, and guess what? I'm going to make money out of making charges, then the Constitution guarantees you a fair and impartial court, okay? Fair and impartial court system. If I'm the DA and I'm making money, I ain't fair and impartial anymore. I promise you, I'm partial to me making money. That's what they're partial to, and that's what they're doing. And they're doing it illegally. So one, the fairness just went out the door. So constitutionally, and I'm not a guy who argues constitutional, you know what, I'm not a constitutional attorney, but guys, the Constitution in some cases, pretty plain, this is pretty plain. They cannot be an unbiased party when they're making money. They're going to decide that you're going to get charged. You know what they're going to offer you as a charge? They're going to offer you their sales. How do they offer their sales as part of the plea agreement? You talk about corrupt. I'm going to get you, I tell you what, you can go to jail or you can have me as your probation officer. How about that? And you pay me $40. Now, is that not extortion? Is that not, pay me $40 and you get off, or you can go to jail? Guys, it's extortion. It's extortion by government all day long. Anybody says it's not, it's full of crap. It's pretty easy to see. The AG refuses to file this. Drummond refuses to file it. It just shows you he shouldn't be your governor if he cannot hold these people accountable. Guess what? It is all day long corrupt as crud. Then guess who's going to supervise? They're going to supervise. So they're going to decide whether you get revoked or not revoked. You go out and commit a crime, and guess what? They're not revoking you. Know what they're doing? Nope, come back. We'll give you a second one, only you're going to have to pay both. Come back and get a third one. Guess what? So guess what? They're not doing their job. They're not doing anything except collecting money. Now, guys, here's what's funny. If you come in and you're on probation, you're committing crime, generally the crimes we're looking at are going to be drugs, theft, or prostitution, okay? There's your big crimes that you see repeated. Okay, I'm going to arrest you. I'm going to give you court costs. I'm going to give you a fine, and I'm going to give you DA probation. That's going to be a little bit over $3,000. And then I'm going to send you out on the street without any behavioral change. We're not going to do anything. We're not changing anything. We're going to send you out on the street to get me $3,000. How are you going to make $3,000? How were you making money when you come in? You were selling dope, you were stealing, or you were selling yourself. Now, how are you going to increase $3,000? You got to up your game. So the DAs have become like the cartel. They're out there making you go to work for them, making you go out and steal, making you go out and sell dope, making you go out and do more prostitution. Because guess what? They ain't done anything to change your behavior. Now, guys, you can argue with me. You can say, well, that's their choice. They could go out and get a job. guess what? When you're having to come to court every 5 minutes, when you're having to pay all your money to the court system, go out and get a job. Let's see how good that works for you. Guys, we're making an impossible situation. These DAs know it and they don't care. And when they get 3 to 4 crimes where these people are having to pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars every daggum month just to stay afloat with the court system, and they're threatening to arrest them, guys, it's extortion all day long. Don't matter how you cut it, it's extortion. But it goes worse than that. In 2012, they had a case where a judge said, I'm not giving y'all probation because you don't do anything. And he listed out, you don't do any treatment, you don't do any drug testing, you don't do any behavioral change, you don't do any real supervision, you don't help them get a job. He listed all the things they were supposed to do that they weren't doing. Okay, they filed a judicial case against him. So they filed a court case against that judge saying the judge didn't have the authority to change their plea bargain. The lower court come in and said, yes, the judge is the sentencing authority, and yes, he does have the authority to do that. All the DAs in the entire state, now all these lawyers get together and file an appeal. The appellate court comes back and says, lower court was right. The judge is the sentencing authority. And they give a little bit more. They said the $40 fee must be used for the actual act of supervision during the applicable period of time that the offender is on supervision. Now that means 2 things to me. Old JJ interprets it 2 ways. That means, number one, the money is earmarked. It can only be used for their probation supervision. Can't be used to fund their office. It has to be used for probation supervision. Okay? Now, they are not using it for probation supervision. And I can prove that. 2, you have to actually do real supervision. They're not doing real supervision. It's a joke. Easy to prove, okay? Now, here's the thing. If I charge you for mowing your yard and I charge you $40 a month, and you paying me $40 a month, but I never come mow your yard, what have I done? I violated contract. I've also stole from you. I've also committed fraud, okay? So, again, for the DAs to tell and come out and say that they are doing supervision when they know damn good and well they ain't doing any supervision is fraud all day long. Plus, they have to use the money correctly. So I tracked all the money. I jumped on them in 2019. Now, here's another part of this story you can't miss out. When they lost that in 2013, there's a former ADA who was a legislator who went and passed a bill saying they can draw $40 a month whether they supervise or not. It's called a prosecution fee. Guess what? They can. The law passed. They draw $40 a month whether they supervise or not. But they cannot charge a supervision fee. They can charge a prosecution fee. But if they charge a supervision fee, they're still under these court orders. That law did not change these court orders. They do not file a prosecution fee because guess what? The court collects that. They collect supervision fee and they can issue a warrant. So they come and do this collecting supervision fees and then they hide under this. This is what the AG will say. The AG will say, well, they can draw $40 whether they supervise or not. That AG's a liar. He knows dang good and well he's pulling a lawyer bullcrap, trying to two-face, two-time, two-speak. Guess what? Fork-tongue speaking. He knows the difference between these 2 fees. And guess what? They cannot collect this one unless they use it strictly for probation fees, and they actually got to do the supervision. It's fraud other way. I tracked the money, about $55 million, to 4 accounts in the DAC. So all these DAs are collecting it. They're sending it to Oklahoma City. They're taking the money and moving it over to the Capital Fund. The Capital is giving the money back. Guess what? When they give the money back, it's coming into their budget. Now they don't have to meet all these court orders because it's in their budget. We like to call that money laundering, okay? We like to call it money laundering in the criminal justice. The day that money left their hands, that $55 million left their hands, it's fraud all day long. Every DA in the state is committing fraud. I say every DA. There's maybe 4 or 5 not participating in this, okay? But the majority, overwhelming majority of district attorneys across the state of Oklahoma are committing fraud, and they know dang good and well they do it. They prosecute people all day long for this. When it left their hands, it no longer can be used. What the court ordered it, they knew it. They knew it when they did it, because the courts told them. If a bunch of lawyers can't understand what the court said, then guess what? We're in deep trouble. So, guys, they intentionally, willfully, knowingly committed a felony by doing the fraud, turning around and bringing it back and spending it in their budget to bypass the court orders, money laundering all day long. And here's the other part. I think that I could go back and prove that our House leadership met with them, come up with this plan, and therefore it is a plan of conspiracy to commit a crime. Guys, we got fraud. It is time that we call it out all day long. Guys, we got to get up and do something. And I'm one guy, I'm calling it out, and I'm calling it trying to get prosecution. Everybody, well, why don't you try to get prosecution? Because the AG will not prosecute. Don't elect that sucker. He will not prosecute. Okay? I've taken it to other law enforcement, and I do believe some of our law enforcement, the next thing I'm going to talk about, broadband. Let me talk about broadband for a second. Guys, we've put together one of the most political groups for broadband. So we got all this broadband that we're supposed to get. Guys, we're never going to improve Oklahoma, especially regional, rural Oklahoma. Rural Oklahoma needs broadband. Guys, we could have put broadband on our electrical poles a long time ago. We got all these co-ops. We could have had it for a quarter of the cost right into every home. They're not worried about you getting broadband. They're stealing your money. I mean, wholesale, stealing your money. So here's the deal. We got this highly politicized broadband group, broadband board, and I was told that they got one of the dumps of money they got was $1.3 billion, and I was told that they had 61% of that money went to the people sitting on that board. Guys, do you think that warrants, and I got more than just being told, I got some records to show this. Guys, I'd say it'd warrant investigation. I looked at one group of houses. It's going to cost $41,500 to drop a line in each one of those houses. And the group that I was having a look at that said they could do it for $3,500. Guys, are we being ripped off? I guess so. And wonder what old Elon could put that satellite crud. We could probably put a satellite up there for $600. You know what I'm saying? And guess what? I could save them all kinds of money. And we can have the whole state hooked up before you can say spit. I'd probably call Elon and get a discount if I get enough of them. Guess what? Guys, we are being robbed wholesale. And the quality that they're doing, and what's funny, they're laying these lines all over, not using current infrastructure. Why? Because they want to lay it way around that because they're getting paid by the mile. So, guys, we have infrastructure that could be saving. We could hook up faster, easier. But we're avoiding the infrastructure. We're getting paid by the mile. We're getting low quality service, and we're not getting anything. They're saying, oh, everywhere's hooked up. That is a lie. Guys, this should be investigated. I have turned this over to the FBI. There's other parts of this that really, Huawei is the Chinese company that we kicked out, and we gave all these companies money to get them out of our internet because they were backdooring our internet and getting all of our secrets. Guys, I am working right now to prove one of these companies were paid on that and yet did not do away with it. And they still have these Chinese companies right into our internet. You may have Chinese company in your internet right now. And again, they were paid to get them off. So we need to investigate this. Again, this is one of these things. I've handed a bunch of this information off to the FBI. And so again, that's something that we've definitely got to talk about. Guys, I'm going to speed up a little bit because we're going to run out of time, but I haven't even started on the agencies. Guys, the agencies are out of control. We've seen all this money in Minnesota, and now we're seeing California, Ohio. Guys, it's in New York. Guys, where have all these people been? All these state people, all these Washington people jump up like, oh, we're just finding this demands. Guys, their job is to be finding this 10 years ago. How did $9 million slip out the back door and not one individual saw this, not one individual called, and they're all saying, oh yeah, we were talking about this. Guys, you can say what you want about me, but ain't nobody got to wonder whether I've been calling it out, whether I'm saying it. I'm as loud. Everybody, oh, JJ can't be on all this stuff. Well, guys, I am on all this stuff because all this stuff is easy to find. And if old JJ's finding it, guess what? Old JJ ain't very tall. He can't reach very high. If I can find it and I can find this low-hanging fruit, how much more? Because I don't have access to go into DHS's files and see what's really, and I would love, and I think I could, because guys, DHS had $100 million missing last year, is my understanding. Now, I've told people this. I've tracked deer, and when you're trying to track one deer, it's pretty tough sometimes. You can lose a trail. I've tracked cows, same thing. One cow, you can lose. Horses, same deal. One horse, you can lose, hard to track. But guess what? 100 horses, it's pretty easy to track. 1 million horses, yeah, it's pretty. How about 43 million horses there in mental health? Last year when I called them out, where's the money? 3 months later, guess what? We're missing 43. I think it's a lot bigger than 43, but we'll go with 43. Can I get a witness? That's a pretty big trail to follow. $43 million. How many people you think went to jail on that? Yeah, we had a state audit. We had everybody looking at it. Nobody went to jail. In fact, if it wasn't for the Senate, they wouldn't even fire the person. I hate to give Paxton any kind of credit, but I will say if, even a blind hog finds a nut every once in a while. So he actually did something worthy of saying kudos on that. So again, they fired her, but nobody went to jail. Where's the money? What's going on? And now guess what? Their ideal, let's just privatize everything and give it all away. How stupid can you get? Tragic. This is tragic. You want to talk about gross negligence. You want to talk about some illegal stuff that needs to be looked at. That needs to be looked at. Mental health right there. No beds, no nothing. This is contributing to our criminal justice problem. This is contributing to our homeless problem. Guys, if you want to fix those two, you got to get it addressed on this. The DA's hijacked all that. We got to get the DA's out. We got to get mental health places to go with these people who are spun out on this fentanyl and who can't even say their name. Zombie land. We got to take back zombie land, okay? Department of Corrections. Guys, I've screamed on the Department of Corrections. I've had them rape covered up. I've had human rights violations covered up. I've had murders covered up that I'm proving. I've given so much to the media that they will not report, and they've been sitting on it for more than 6 months. Massive amounts of stuff. But guys, the former director gave himself a $90,000 raise without authorization, called embezzlement all day long. Our AG won't do anything. They got a rent office. They already had an office. They went and rented one up there on Lincoln, big fancy office for about $100,000, more than $1 million a year. They got no legislative approval, illegal. Guess what? Nothing done. He did a contract with Leo Technology, and again, this $1 million contract, but I think it's for 4 years renewable. So it wouldn't be 1 million, it'd be 4 million if I'm not mistaken. And then guess who he goes to work with in October? That's in April. He goes to work in October. Illegal. And yet, guess what? The AG refuses to do anything. If you looked at us negotiating for a prison, I came back last year before it ever happened and said, look, they've got a 1-year contract. They're already 6 months up on that contract. They got nowhere to go. They're setting legislators up to buy this prison, 28-year-old prison. The director never stepped foot in it, my understanding. We paid $312 million with all these corrupt things going on. Don't you think that'd be worth looking into? $312 million for a 28-year-old prison. They never stepped foot in. They put a bunch of mental health people in there where the legislators couldn't let them out. Guess what? It was a set-up deal on the legislators all day long, and they fell for it. They didn't have any choice because they sat and slept and let them do it to them because nobody pays attention. Me calling it out the whole time, and they're doing nothing. Guys, I've turned in so much stuff. The state auditor had an audit on medical marijuana. I took mountains of paperwork down there showing they're not using POs, showing that they're buying furniture and that they remodeled their office like 3 times, just boom, 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 massive amounts of money. purchasing furniture from the Department of Corrections with no purchase order on either side, doing contracts without any kind of bidding process. I got a tape of the CFO doing a contract with a company that his wife works for, and on the tape, he's griping at the people who turned him in and got that stopped, and he's ripping them, which is proving that it actually happened, and yes, he did do it. So got all of that. What have you heard? That was turned in over a year ago, much more than that. Guess what? You haven't heard anything from that. Again, you have human services with all the problems of fraud, putting kids in terrible homes, taking kids out of good homes, foster care issues, all of those problems, plus $100 million gone. Guess what? $100 million, 43 million at mental health, $100 million at DHS. Have you heard of an investigation? Have you heard anybody say anything? No, let's just give them another $100 million and see what they'll do with that. How stupid can you get? How much more corruption do you need? Guys, it's time. You don't have to go to Somalians. You don't need to go to Minnesota. You don't need to go to California. Come right here in Red, Oklahoma. We can roll up our sleeves and we can start working this out. Guys, something's got to be done. I'm all the time calling this stuff out. If you want to look at another deal, we got about 5 minutes. I'm going to try to wrap her up. I started looking at our jails losing our insurance, and I started looking into, and we self-pay, so we have our own pool. We have a pool. All the counties put it together. I looked at 10 of the poorest counties. I got an insurance group to look at this for me, and guess what, guys? We paid, those 10 counties paid $17 million in a 6-year period. $6 million got paid out, so that leaves $11 million there. Over that time period, how much interest did all that draw? Where's it all going? Because I can't find out where it's all going. Can't get paperwork to it. Guys, they were doing, all these lawyers were doing cases on stuff that had been, it wasn't supposed to even be investigated. So you have exclusions, what they call exclusions in insurance. So we'll have a case at exclusion. The lawyer should come up and say, no, this is no case at all. It was excluded in the insurance. Instead, they're going ahead and representing like there is a case. They're making thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And guess what? This county's have to pay into this pool $1 million while they draw interest off of it. It is the corruptest thing. So we asked for the end runs for the reports on all this. The first report we got was wrong. Second report was wrong. Third report wrong. Fourth report on these 10 counties. We finally get it right. They were 25 to 50% off from the original charge. Guys, golly, you want to talk about corrupt? And here's what's funny: the lawyers that are doing this in 2015, a state auditor named Gary Jones came in and said, you got a lot of problems. I think he listed about 23 things that were corrupt and needed to be fixed. Guys, then all of a sudden, the next auditor never reports on it, or hard to find. I can't find it. Anyways, here's what happens. They get it like steroids. They didn't quit doing it. They kicked it into overdrive. Now they have an office right there in that county building. Guess what? Got an office right there in that county building. Got 93% of all their business. If you want to look over there in OMAG, guess what? They got the same thing. All these cities, they're doing the same thing. Guys, it looks corrupt. What I've seen, what I've had other insurance groups, not just me, I've had people that know this business look at this and tell me, am I right? Is this looking very illegal? It absolutely smacks of illegal. It smacks of corruption. It smacks of the Sherman antitrust laws, monopoly laws. It smacks of those. Guys, we've got to get on this. I've been working with, here's what's funny, was going to have a hearing on this year, and the Senate said they would not allow a hearing. David Butler got to have that hearing, but the Senate would not allow a joint. They would not. They said as long as my name was on it, they wouldn't allow it. So I've made the Senate mad. I've made the House mad. Guys, I've also got a lawsuit because the House, our leadership in-house, made an agreement with the Department of Corrections that they would not allow me to have any information. And if I wanted to view information, I had to sign a non-disclosure saying I couldn't talk with you guys about anything. And they said that the reason was because I released human rights violations, okay? So I reported them for human rights violations. Now they're mad at me, and now they get with my house and leadership and make an agreement that at least that's what they wrote and said in an email that I could no longer have any of this. So I've sued them. I've also sued the DAs over open records when it comes to wrongful convictions. Guys, wrongful convictions, we got Richard Glossop that we were able to prove that DAs ordered evidence destroyed. Guys, I'm working on a case right now where we have one of the people in forensic evidence on tape saying that they go down the river, dig a hole, bury or put in the evidence that they're supposed to keep, burn all this evidence and cover it up on tape, guys. We got in Tremaine Wood, we got the AG having ex parte communications, back alley communications with the top judge. This ought to disqualify, disbar both of them. Judicial complaints ought to be all over this, that they're having these communications back alley. They know it's wrong. They know it's not right. And we've got case after case where we're showing that they withheld evidence. They knew that there was evidence there that would clear people. They've withheld it, that they've destroyed evidence, that they've witness tampered, that they've intimidated witnesses. And again, guys, I put about as many people in jail as you want to put. And if you commit a crime, then I can hug your neck, try to help you change your ways. But at the same time, you're going to have some consequences for your actions. Now, guys, I don't hold it when the DAs become corrupter than the people, when the DAs put a man in prison because they destroyed evidence to make this guy go to the gurney and die on a lie, guess what? They need prosecuted. Our AG will not prosecute these people. Guys, I don't have enough time to go into what I'm doing with ATF. We're trying to have them arrested. I got a report right there on the president's desk. I have confirmed that President Trump has that on his desk, what I've written up to have ATF arrested for wrongful coming in and raiding a place wrongfully there in our district. Another thing, I've put a probable cause together with a brief and witnesses for the AG on COVID to have Fauci all the way down. We use the Oklahoma Criminal Enterprise Act. It's like RICO. Guys, we've got the brief. We've got everything to show that this was a setup. There was a protocol. They knew the medicine they were using was not successful, killed people. They withheld medicine that would have cured people. They set in to take away food, tranquilize people, put them on a vent and kill them. We've got all that evidence. The DA, the AG's not going, the AG will not prosecute. In fact, he told a group of people that he is a grown-ass man and didn't need their vote on that issue. So, guys, I could go on all day. We've run out of time. I appreciate every one of y'all. Guys, we got to get involved. We got to take back our capital. We got to take back our courtrooms. We got to take back Oklahoma. Y'all have a great day.